There was a bit of a discussion last year about if Darth Vader could work in Dead by Daylight, and since I've been in a Star Wars mood lately, and I thought I might as well put my 2 cents in and describe how I think a Star Wars chapter could work in Dead by Daylight. Starting off with the man himself, Darth Vader, I do think Vader could fit in Dead by Daylight, as it wouldn't take much to make him fit into a horror setting, and his hallway scene from Rogue One being a prime example of that. For Vader's gameplay, I could see him having similar gameplay to his classic Battlefront 2 abilities, where Force Stroke obviously being his main power, alongside 2 sub-powers of throwing his lightsaber ahead of him and Force Jump. Vader's Force Stroke power would mainly be used to slow down survivors during a chase, giving them the hidden sound effect until the power meter runs out, injuring the survivor, or if they're hit by Vader slicing them with his lightsaber, or if they somehow get out of Force Stroke range. As the survivor is injured, gets out of Force Stroke range, or if you run out of this power meter, this power goes on cooldown for a short time. I can see Vader also having a unique moral animation every Force Strokes an injured Death Hook survivor, with it being what you expect of Darth Vader, lifting his target off the ground a bit before snapping their neck by using the Force. With Vader's lightsaber throw ability, I can see it acting in one of 2 ways. The first being the more expected way of Vader just throwing his saber directly in front of him and it returning back to him on a hit or miss. With the second and least likely way being when Vader throws the saber, you stop controlling Vader and stop to controlling the saber. Think those recon droids from the classic Battlefront games, or even the remote batarangs from the Batman Arkham games. The saber's airtime would drain the power meter and would automatically deactivate either when you hit a survivor or a wall. Lastly, for Vader's powers, Force Jump, a straightforward power that would also let Vader traverse a map quickly without cooldown after use. As to how Vader can use these abilities, I can see him having to select the power, like D&D Vector, and maybe give Force Stroke a lingering effect too to allow combo hits with his saber throw, but I can see this not happening for balance reasons. One last thing for Vader's gameplay, I think his mechanical breathing should work like Hunter's lullaby, so you would hear Vader's breathing before you would hear his tear radius. Next, an example of a possible perk for Vader. As like my past making a chapter videos, for time, I'm just going to give an example of a single perk instead of trying to come up with 3 different perks. For an example of a possible perk for Vader, I'm calling it the Power of the Dark Side, where you can enjoy a single upright pallet with this perk active. In order for it to activate, you need to hook a survivor, and personally I'd have it so you gain a max of 1 token, and so you can save it for when you really need to destroy a pallet. But I think if this were to come to the game, it would act like turn back the clock, where it's active for a short time after hooking a survivor, where you can use it to destroy an upright pallet. Finally, for Darth Vader skins, the fun part of these videos, so I can see Vader having a decent amount of skins, from the simple skins of the different Vader suits that were used throughout the films, even a slightly different default helmet where the red of Vader's eyes are more prominent. Maybe they could even a cool thing with Vader's prestige skin, where his helmet being damaged, showing his face beneath it. I can see him having a legendary skin of Fallen Anakin. Personally, I would have it be that this skin would have him with his cloak and hood up, leaving his glowing Sith eyes to pierce from beneath the hood. The legendary skins also let you play as someone else with similar powers to that killer, so in Darth Vader's case, I can see him having a skin of Kylo Ren, and maybe a far stretch, but I do think that Darth Starkiller could also be a skin for Darth Vader. But Darth Vader isn't the only one I think could make it into DBD, as I also think that the cybernetic leader of the Droid army, General Grievous, could all work in Dead by Daylight. Unlike Vader, Grievous is way more mobile thanks to being more machine than man, and in combination with his powerful legs, alongside his ability to spread his arms to give him 4 arms, it gives the General different ways of moving quickly, alongside giving him more options in combat. So I can see Grievous having the ability to choose between 3 powers. The first being a power launched attack, like the Demogorgon's own launched attack mechanically. As similar to Demo, this attack can break drop pallets alongside damaging survivors. His second ability would be a lightsaber dash, where Grievous splits his arms up and tosses them up to dash across the map like Bright. Grievous's third and last power would be his spider-like scuttle move. Grievous would move very fast in this form and have effortless camber whilst in it, but he can break walls or kick generators, and if he runs into a survivor or his power runs out of charge, Grievous automatically leaves his power, coughing heavily and putting the power into a long cooldown. Well, I only did bring up Grievous coughing for his last power, but every time he uses one of his powers, he coughs, but the increasing intensity the more powerful they are. So for his first power, it would be a light cough, and for his second power, Grievous would do a proper cough, for lack of a better word. And while using his second or third power, he would slow down for a bit, allowing survivors a chance to get some breathing room from a hit or from a near miss. An example of a perk for General Grievous is cybernetic improvements. It reduces the cooldown from successful basic attack hits by 30%. Lastly, for Grievous skins. Outside of what I think would be the expensive skins of Battle Damage Grievous and Grievous with his cape, I think you could also get a skin that references the original 2003 Clone Wars cartoon version of Grievous. It would likely just be the revised phone Grievous, but coloured in his 03 colour scheme. The other skins Grievous could have could be of his the Clone Wars appearance alongside the updated model for the last season of that show, and maybe a skin of his concept art. I do post survivors now, with the obvious picks being Luke, Han, Leia, and Lando, alongside newer characters like Ahsoka, Rey, and Finn. With some other perk for the Force users, I'm going to use a mechanic that David aced last year, the ability to remove repair generators. This perk would be on cooldown at the start of the match, but when active, you can repair a gen you have line of sight of, and be within an area of it. This perk won't work in a locker, and this perk can only repair a gen to max of 70% repair progress. Even if 30% has already been done to this gen, this perk won't go past the 70% mark, as Survivor must finish the remaining 30%. If the killer damages the gen by any means, you scream alerting the killer to your location. This perk then goes into cooldown, and you suffer a debuff as you were forcibly cut off from the generator you were fixing through the Force. I think the blindness effect would be fair, but I also think the staggered effect would also be fitting. Both effects would be in place until your perk goes off cooldown. For an example of a perk from the non-Force users, I'm calling it Hidden Intel. After moving a generator to at least half, you can bug a locker. While hiding within it, you can see the locations of chests and generators. Before I move on, I do think C-Firo could be a survivor too, as he's a danger magnet, always getting roped into adventures that put him in harm's way. So C-Firo somehow finding himself in DBD would totally be in character for him. Personally, I think he would just be a skin for the non-Force sensitive characters like Han, but if he were to be his own survivor, I can see him having a boon that has R2-D2 walk across a screen during a chase, during that boon's area of effect. He would be a physical object, just an instruction for the killer to look a different way whilst you try to escape the chase. Outside of adding in Star Wars characters, I could see DBD original characters getting skins. For example, I think David could get a Stormtrooper skin, with Gabriel getting skins of him wearing Clone Trooper armor, since he's also a clone. I can see him having model sets of Clone Trooper armor to wear, like blank Phase 1 clones, Final First Phase 2 clones, and maybe even armors of name clone characters like Rex and Cody. For killer Star Wars skins, I can see Sigalactic getting a skin that's made up of different battle types, and I can see the Doctor getting a skin of the Emperor. Reason why he wasn't in the killer section, as there already is someone with electric power, so in my eyes, just make the Emperor a skin for the Doctor. Finally, a map. Well, not all chapters do get a map, but since Star Wars is such a big property, I think it would likely get one. There are plenty of locations in Star Wars that could be chosen, but I am going to give a few examples as ones I think could be added. Starting with indoor maps, the Death Star, either at intact or at post-exploding. I do think the Death Star could work as a map. Yes, it's indoors, but there are areas like the throne room where it's wide open spaces for killer powers to work at their full potential. This is also my logic for the second indoor map, the Jedi Temple. We have added flavour of it being post-Order 66, where foreign bodies of Jedi and clones gathered about the temple. Lastly, for indoor maps within a Star Destroyer. While playing within a down Star Destroyer would be cool, but my ideal map like this would be an attack Star Destroyer that's flying in space. For outdoor maps, I guess we Endor, Tatooine, Jakku, and Master's Palace being possible maps. Endor's map could possibly be focused around the seal generator, with one of the exit gates even possibly being the seal generator bunker itself. Tatooine has a few locations where a map could be set. Maybe draw out the negative emotions. The map could combine the attack of the Sandcrawler and destroyed homestead scenes into one map, or be another outer area of the canteen, where one of the exit gates being the hangar where the Falcon would be located, with the container being a small dull loop where the basement could spawn. Jakku would be pretty straightforward, with it being the Star Destroyer against maybe DBD's own take of the starships and ground vehicles, and have Rey's old 8080 home be a possible basement spawn too. From Master's Past, I preferred being after the First Order destroyed it, with a possible small attack section for a loop and a possible basement spawn. With that, we're going to end this video. What do you think? This is nowhere near exhaustive, as there's tons DBD could do with a Star Wars chapter. What would you add? But in any event, thank you for watching.